सबको मेरा नमस्कार. This is International Master and Sekhar Sahu. I welcome you on behalf of Gujarat State Session and Adarsh Ahmedabad to this training session. I am a FIDE senior trainer and I am just field for more than 50 years. I have got a lot of experience and as a player and as a coach, I want to share my feeling with you in this 3 months workshop. I mean for novice and beginners. मैं ये जो 3 महीने का कोर्स है वर्कशॉप है तो इसमें आई विल गिव एन इंट्रोडक्शन एंड शो यू हाउ टू प्ले चेस with the rudiments and elements of the game and guide you to this exciting world of chess. Chess is a game played between two players. Normally, it represents, in the olden time, there were war and a genius invented the game in India akin to the war about 5000 years back. 5000 साल पहले ये गेम इंडिया में ही चालू हुआ था और आगे जाके यूरोप में और रशिया में बहुत पॉपुलर हो गया. अभी करीबन 400 से ज्यादा भी कंट्री वर्ल्ड में खेलते हैं और इंडिया अभी बहुत आगे आ चुका है. करीबन 1 लाख प्लेयर एक्टिव खेलते हैं और हो सकता है और 5 लाख प्लेयर भी चेस के बारे में अच्छी तरह जानते हैं. और खास करके ये अभी बहुत पॉपुलर हुआ क्योंकि जो ओलंपियाड में चेस ओलंपियाड हुआ लास्ट, इंडिया जॉइंट विनर हुआ, इसलिए चेस ज्यादा पॉपुलर है. सो सॉरी. और इसमें बहुत सारी बेनिफिट है. हम जो चेस खेलते हैं तो देयर इज आल्सो वी गेट गुड एंटरटेनमेंट, द माइंड बिकम्स मोर एनालिटिकल एंड कॉन्फिडेंस. तो चेस का बहुत सारी बेनिफिट है कि प्लेयर को मेंटल एजिलिटी मिलता है जो है. यहाँ पर कोई भी कुछ सवाल कर सकता है तो मैं भी आंसर देगा. आई एम ऑन लाइव नाउ. अगर कोई प्लेयर कुछ पूछना चाहता है तो ये लाइव चार्ट में तो भी मैं उसका जवाब देगा. तो इट इज ऑल्सो आई एम वाचिंग देयर. नाउ आई विल फर्स्ट डिस्कस द इंट्रोडक्शन ऑफ द पीसेस. अभी पीसेस कैसा चलता है, हाउ द पीसेस वर्क एंड व्हाट इज द मोटिव and what is the goal in the game. Now, the goal in the game is to checkmate. Normally, when there is a war, the goal is to win the battle. अभी यहाँ पर एक्चुअल वार तो नहीं है like a war. So when we checkmate the king, the game is won. So let me introduce the pieces now. अभी देखिए सिर्फ किंग है. White has first of all, I will tell you the notations that these are called files. The A file, B file, C file, D file, sorry, D file, and this is E file, F file, this is H file. Now I will show you why this. You can see it is written here A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, so that we can write the moves. This notation can be written when we are playing a game. We can write what move we made it. So these are called files. Please remember, and vertically this is going on. These are diagonals. These are called diagonals. These are diagonals. And these are called files. Okay. Now I will go Control N. Okay. Maybe will put a king so that otherwise it will not accept. And these are called rank. You can see on the left hand side, it is there 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So ranks. This is first rank. This is called first rank, second rank, third rank. Like that it goes on. Fourth rank, fifth rank. So it goes on. So sixth, seventh rank and eighth rank. So these are called ranks. So when we make a move, so taking in consideration file and rank, we write the move. Let us say we play a game. Now let us say white makes the move. That means it was on E2. You can see E and second rank and it is fourth rank. So E2, E4, that means so the knight is called knight F3. So the knight will come to F3 because it from G1, this is F3 square because F and third rank and F5. So it called F3 square. So let me introduce the pieces now. So I told you about the file and rank. Now king. Okay, maybe I can put it like this. Now, how the pieces move first? This is the king. The king can go one square at a time to any side. For example, the king can go to any of the square. Any of the square. There are 8 squares around the king. So you can go to any of the square. And this king can go to any of the 5 squares. So you can see the king can go to any direction but only one square at a time. Suppose I make a move and then king moves. So I make one move here and then the king move. Now you can go anywhere in the direction. So now this both can go. Now there are 8 squares around the king. Now there are 8 squares around the king. You can go anywhere. For example, I can go to point here. He will come here. So I go here. And now you can see the king controlling this. This king also controlling. So the king cannot go to a controlled square. For example, he can go to this point now, anywhere here. And this king can go to anywhere here. But they cannot go to this squares. Why? Because king is controlling. It is not legally right to go to a square where it is controlled. Please remember, the king cannot go to a square controlled by opponent pieces. So this is the movement of king. I have told you that king can go any direction, horizontally, vertically, but only one square at a time. Let us say you go here. You go. Now the king can go anywhere here, anywhere. So he'll go diagonally. He will go also diagonally. He can come here. He can go here. So the king can go one square. I hope you understand now the movement of king. Now let me take you to the other pieces. Let me introduce you how the other pieces moves. Let us say you have a king, you have a queen, and there is a queen. Now this is called queen, and it can go any direction, just like the king moves on any direction, but no limit. You know, the king goes only one square at a time, but for queen, there is no limit. So this is called a diagonal. This is a diagonal here, and this is on the file. It can go anywhere in the file, or anywhere in the rank, or anywhere in the diagonal. So the queen in the center, it can go to 27 squares. You can see if you count the number of squares in the center, the queen can go to 27 squares. For example, here there are 7 in the file and 7 in the rank. 7 in the, I think 28 square, 28 square. Because this is no 27, this 3, 4, 7, 6, 13, and then 14. It is 27 squares. The queen in the center can go to any of the 27 squares. But let us say if there is a king in between. Let me put the king. Let me put the king in between. Now, okay. Now the queen cannot go because it is on the path. Now queen can go to anywhere here, anywhere, anywhere, कहीं भी जा सकता है, कहीं भी, sorry, कहीं भी जा सकता है. But it cannot go because the king is blocking. It cannot go. It cannot go this line further. Okay. Now, when this is the movement of queen, that it can go anywhere and there is no limit of number of moves, but it cannot cross its own pawn, own pieces. All right. Now, let me put a queen anywhere. Suppose, uh, let us say the queen. I put the queen. Queen कहाँ पर रखूँ? Yeah. Now, let us say white wants to move the king. White can go any of the squares. He can go to the squares, but not this, not this, not this. Red means it is in danger zone. You see, the queen is watching the square, or queen is watching this. So king cannot go to a controlled square. Now the king cannot go here because his own piece is there. So king can go here. There is no attack. King can go here. That square is f6. Can go to f5. That is called, this is the notation I have already told you so that it is easier to discuss. King can go to d5 square. Why? This is d file, this is the d file and the fifth rank. So this is the d5 square. But king cannot go to any of the square d6 or e6 or f6 because this is controlled by queen. This is controlled by queen. But imagine there is a queen here. Let us say king cannot go here. But in case the queen is here, he can go. So these are the difference, that king cannot go to a controlled square and it can go one square at a time. And the queen can go any number of squares. Let me discuss the other pieces now. The rook. Now rook is also a very powerful piece next to the queen. Of course, the king is most powerful, after king, queen, and after that it comes rook. The rook can go only in the file and the rank. It cannot go diagonal. Okay. So here the rook can go like this, or this, or this, any of this way. But it cannot go like queen. Queen could have gone like in the diagonally. Now it cannot go diagonally. So it can go here anywhere. It can go here anywhere. So that is, you see, the notation comes. Now this is called a4 square. That is why you can see rook a4. Now this is called g4 square. So when you play, it is called rook g4. So this is called rook. Normally हमारा जो पुराना आर्मी में कहते हैं हाथी, अभी हम क्वीन कहते हैं, बट एक्चुअली इन द गेम इट वाज मिनिस्टर, आई मीन मंत्री. बट chess has gone to western countries and they have made it queen because normally it is minister, वजीर. हमारा जो हिंदुस्तान में चलता था चेस में, बट अभी यहाँ पर रूल बना दिया क्वीन, और ये हाथी, दिस इज रूक. नेक्स्ट आई विल गो टू बिशप, दैट इज एक्चुअली ऊंट. हमारा जो आर्मी रहता था, किंग, क्वीन, मिनिस्टर, देन हाथी, देन ऊंट और घोड़ा और पैदल. So these are same thing, but they say it in rook, bishop, knight, and pawn. Now this is king, this is king, this is queen. So this is queen, and this is rook. And there are two rooks. So this is also black rook. Whatever white has got, black has the same. Totally 16 pieces with each side. 8 pawns each, then 8 pieces each. So 16 pieces, and they can start the game. Normally white start the game and then one move at a time. So I have already introduced you about queen and rook. Now I will go to how the bishops move. You can see there are two bishops. This bishop is in white square, and this bishop is in dark square. ये सफेद रंग में है बिशप, ये काला रंग में. So they can move only in that direction. For example, अभी ये जो बिशप है, ये सिर्फ व्हाइट में ही चलेगा. It cannot go. Once it goes bishop here, and it can go in white only. This bishop will go in the black only. Let me discuss one game. Movement of bishops. Clear the board. King. Okay. You can see this bishop can go only in white. Now one move at time. He will move the bishop. Now this bishop can come here. I have made a white. Okay. Now this bishop can go only in black. This will give, when a piece attacks the king, it is called check. Now you have made a move, so white has to move the king only. White cannot say, I will give a check. No, it is not legal. It is illegal move. When there is a check, one must respond, stop the check or move. So white has two choices. I can play bishop here, block the check. Or I can move king move. I can do also move the king. I can move the king. This is possible. So when there is a check, you have to respond to check only. आप चेक के टाइम आप खुद चेक नहीं दे सकते, या आप बोलेंगे मैं ऐसा कुछ करेगा. नो, रूल इज यू हैव टू मीट द चेक. तो इधर आप ब्लॉक करो चेक को और मूव करो. दिस इज पॉसिबल. और आई कैन गो, मे बी आई कैन गो टू e2. So suppose he gives another check, I can go to e3. Like that it will go on. Another check, I can come here. So this is how the king goes. When there is a check, you have to move. Now let us move the bishops. So I give a check. Now whose move it is? Check. He gives check. I come here. Now he moves the king. So I can give a check. Check. He will move the king. I can give a check. He can move the king. So I can move the king. So he can move the king. Like that it will go on. So bishops, they move only in diagonally. They cannot go like rook. Okay. So let me show you one position. Let's say king. King. Clear the board. Bishop. Now the bishop can go in white diagonal. It can go here. It can go this way. It can go in diagonal and diagonal. This bishop can go in the black square diagonal. Now you understand, bishop goes diagonal. For example, we move the bishop to h7. Why h7? This is h5 and 7th rank. So this square is called h7 square. So that is why bishop h7. We make it shortcut. B. B for bishop. Q for queen. K for king. R for rook. And P for pawns. So this is bishop h7. Let us say now the king moves and we go bishop. This is called b6 square. B file and sixth rank. So the square is called b6. So bishop b6. So now you understand how the bishops move. Okay. Now I will take you to knight and then pawns. Now both sides have two knights each. This is two knights and black also has two knights. So let me show you how the knights move. The knight normally, in the war, the knight horse jumps always, goes fast. So here, chess, there is the knight goes two squares and move. For example, this will go like a L shape. See, this is like a L shape. So the knight can come to this square. Now it can come to this square, and this knight can come to this square like an L, or it goes two squares and crosses. It will go like this and cross, or it will go like this. So it moves two and then takes a turn. Takes two, take two and turn. Let us say knight move. And normally, whichever square the knight is, there are two type of color, black and white. So suppose the knight is in white, it will go to a black square only. For example, this knight can go to any of the square. I'll put it in center rather. Let's say the king like that, and put it in center. Now look here, this knight can go to anywhere on the squares. It can go to any of the squares. And this knight can go to any of the squares. Like I will first go so this. It can go like this, or maybe I will make it red so that it is more vivid. Make it red so that you can more clearly you can see. Yeah, you can see the knight can go two squares and take a turn. Knight is in white. It can go to any of the dark squares. So just make two squares move and then turn. Or you can go two squares and turn. So also black knight can go any of the direction. For example, it can go to any of the squares. Any of the square. It can go take two moves and turn anywhere. You can go like two moves and turn, or turn. That means you can see the knight is in yellow. I mean, I made it yellow, means so highlighted it, so it is more vigilant. And this one, it is now in green. It can go to anywhere to the green color. You cannot go when you are in white. You cannot go to a white square. You have to cross to a black square only. Two squares and take a turn. The white square knight go to a black square. On the black square, I mean, it is in white now. You can say black square knight will go to a white color. I hope it is clear. It is knight movement. Let me again show you. Okay. Now you can see the knight is in dark square. So it can go to any of the white squares. It can go to any of the white squares. Just make 2 and turn. 2 and turn. This is what. Now you cannot go. You cannot go like this. You have to turn. You have to go 2 squares and then take a turn. Half step jump they call. You can go like this and jump. So this is like 2.5. I hope you understand the knight move now. Let me make a black knight like same thing. Let us say now the knight is in dark. It can go to any of the color. It can go anywhere. It can go knight here and turn or turn one at a time. Imagine there is a pawn. For example, let us say there is a knight or there is a rook or there is a queen or you can say there is a pawn. You can say there is bishop. All right. So let us say black to play. Black has the move. Black can capture any of the piece. He can capture the rook because it can go like this. It can capture. Or he can decide to capture the knight. It can go like this. He can capture the knight. Or he can capture the queen. So he can go 2 moves and capture the queen. Or alternatively, he can decide to capture the bishop or the pawn. He can go and capture the bishop. Or he can capture the pawn. That means you can see the knight can take any of the pieces you desire, but only one move at a time. You can't take knight and you cannot take the rook like that. You can make only one move at a time. So I hope you have understood the knight move in a game. For example, suppose I make a knight move. He will make knight. I can go knight move. He can also make a knight move. I can come back. He also can go. I can come back to the square. He can also go back. So it keep on, knight can keep on moving. So these are called knight moves. That it goes 2 squares and turn. So it will go also like 2 squares and turn. Okay. So now I have discussed you how the queen moves, how the rook moves, how the bishop and knight moves. Let me take you to the pawns. Now you have got 8 pawns each, and the pawn goes straight, and when it captures, it goes diagonal. For example, now the pawn can original square, it can go one or two. I can make the pawn one move. He can make this. Or alternately, I can go 2 moves. This option going 2 move only from the starting square. Only from the starting square. Once the pawn moves, it cannot go to only one. One. And notice, suppose you make one move and he makes one. Now this pawn cannot move 2 moves. Only on the original square it can go 2. Once the pawn has moved, it has lost the right. एक बार pawn move हो गया तो फिर वो 2 स्क्वायर नहीं चलेगा. एक स्क्वायर ही चलेगा. So the important thing is that only from original square you can make 2 moves. Now the pawn goes straight and captures diagonal. So I will explain to you in a more clear mode. Let's say the pawns are okay. The only pawns. The pawn it goes straight but captures diagonal. For example, I make pawn move and he makes a move. Now I can capture. If I want, it is not compulsory that I have to capture. I can go straight. I can ignore. I can make a move. I can give a support. So if it takes, I can take. That means the pawn goes straight but can capture diagonally. For example, he comes, I can capture the pawn. Now if he comes, I can capture the pawn. It is not compulsory. There is no rule that you have to capture. You can give a support, you can ignore it, you can move and you can capture the pawn. So this is not that it is compulsory. Only check is a compulsory move. When there is a check, you have to respond to the check. There cannot be any other move. So now you can see the pawn he can capture. Now he can capture the pawn. Now I make a move. He will he will make a move. He will make a move. I will make. Now they cannot capture each other because if you want to capture, it can go like this only. It cannot capture. It is blocked. Suppose you play, I will capture the pawn. Now you play, I will capture. Now let us say you come, I push, you come. When the pawn reaches the 8th rank, you can promote to any of the piece. You can bring a queen, you can bring a rook, you can bring a bishop or a knight. Let us say I can make a queen and I am giving a check. So the king has to move. You cannot stay here. You cannot go because this is still under attack. So you have to go only to this squares. You can't go to any of the square because the king under attack. So you have to go away or you can go away. So here he can make a pawn push, and now I can do a queen. I can bring a rook also. I can bring a rook. This is also in check. I can also bring a bishop. Now this is not a check. So I can prepare to push the pawn. And if he maybe he will move the bishop here. So I can push the pawn. Or I can take the pawn. Here I can take the pawn and he will come. Then I can queen. This is how it can go on. So player can bring a knight, he can bring a bishop, or he can bring a knight also. He can bring a knight also. So the pawn can go to promoted to any of the pieces once it goes to 8th rank. Normally, everybody likes to bring a queen because it is very powerful. So let me tell you the units of the pieces. Okay. So the king is there is no power because if king mated, everything is gone. So let us leave the king. It is omnipotent. Now let us say queen. Queen we consider 9 points in the units to make some the power of the pieces 9 points. The rook is 5 points. Okay, the bishop and knight they are 3 points each. That means the queen is 9 and rook is 5. That means two rooks are 10 points. So queen versus two rooks are practically equal. So bishop and knight are 3 points, rook is 5 points, and the pawns are 1 point each. They are 1 point each. So like that, we number of units for the pieces, the power of the pieces we count in units. So suppose I have a queen and I have two rooks, that is practically equal. So let us say if a game I will start. Why it starts normally is the center pawn. Normally you will start with the center pawn. Control. Now the game starts with the center pawn, e4, and black can play e5. White can play d3. Black can play knight c6. White can also bring the knight. Then black can also bring the knight. White can play bishop. He can play. Now there is a rule, castle. Now you know in the olden days, castle was built by the kings. The king used to stay in a very safe place. That is castle. So here also the king goes makes a castle. That the king, whichever color he is there, he will go to the next color, similar, and the rook will jump. For example, the king can go to the square. It can go, and the rook will come at the center. For example, castle. Now this is called castle, and that is only once in the game. And this king can castle. See, in the olden days, this is international rule is like this, but in Indian rule, it was a different type. The king used to go like a knight. The king used to go like a knight. For example, you will make a pawn move, and he will make a knight move, and he will make pawn move, and the king will come, and the king will like make a jump. Here, the king used to go king here, and the king can go jump. So that is to change the international rule. The king goes castle like this, and black can go like this. Or it can go on the queen side. It can also castle on the this place, this side. For example, let us say now I play bishop. You will play bishop on push. Now I bring the knight. He will bring the bishop. I will bring the queen. He will bring. Now both can castle. So for example, white has a choice to go here or go here and castle anywhere. This is called long castle. Why long castle? Because the rook makes three moves. Rook will come one, two, three, three. And here the rook makes only two moves. That is, this is called short castle, and this is called long castle. Now long castle, because the move rook makes three. Here black can do long castle or black can do short castle. Suppose you make this move, king. This is called short castle, and this is called long castle. Three zeros. You can see when you make a short castle here, there are zero zero. There is three zeros. It's called long castle. Okay. So you understand now the king can castle to either side, but notice here you cannot castle long because the queen is in the path. You cannot castle. So in order to castle, you have to move the queen, make a road clear. Now the king black to move, he can only do short castle. He can only do short castle, but he cannot do long castle because the queen is on the way. For example, you make like this. I castle. Now you cannot do long castle because the bishop blocking. So I hope you understand long castle and short castle. This is the rules just I am telling. And the king cannot castle when it is covered by a piece. For example, control and now let us say let's say e4. I go like e5. Now knight f3. Now knight c6, knight c3, and bishop b4. And I will play make bishop c4. And you take, I take, and you come here. Now I play bishop. Now black cannot castle. The bishop is watching this diagonal. So king cannot cross a controlled square. Bishop is watching the square. The king cannot cross because it is illegal. If black wants to castle, black must first block. Now the control is no more there. I mean, it goes, king can say, if I can castle, you can castle. But in the earlier diagram, king could not castle. Let us say I will make a move. Now pawn push, bishop. Just I am making moves. Now the bishop is controlling this diagonal and watching the square. So the king cannot castle. Illegal move. It is illegal to king cannot cross. If you want to castle, you should play d3. Now the control is no more there. Now I can castle safely. So you will castle, I will castle, you will castle. So control square you cannot cross. But mind you, there is a difference that supposing let us say I make a small difference. The pawn is I make the pawn like this. Okay. Now I make a queen move and he makes castle. Now I now rook here. No, suppose as now white can castle long because you see the rook is not controlling the kings, so I can castle. You may say the rook is jumping, but King cannot cross. Who can cross? So this is not controlling any square. The rook is watching the square. But the king is not being attacked. So it can castle. So I hope you understand what is short castle, what is long castle. So regarding the pawn moves, I will tell you now. The pawn moves e to e4. Original square. So he also choice, he also can be. Now I attack the pawn. So the pawn can capture this pawn, but not this pawn. Now here, neither of the pawn, you cannot capture this, he cannot capture. Now let us say he plays this. Now he plays this. You can capture. Now the queen can capture because rule is that you can move the queen straight or on the diagonal. Now knight can attack. As I told you, the queen is 9 point, the knight is 3 point. So we should not exchange for 3 points. The queen is being attacked. It's a powerful piece. So queen should move safely. Now suppose he comes here. Now we can play knight. He can play bishop here, and we bring knight. He castles. So white can also prepare to castle by moving the bishop b4. And then he can come and castle. So, or if white desire that I must go for this side. If white wants to go this side, so he should move the bishop. Let us say pawn push castle. So this is a game. We will go on. Now I will discuss you about the pawn moves. Hello. Good morning. हाँ हाँ बोलिए साहब. हाँ जी. हाँ जी. हाँ. डेफिनेटली सर. डेफिनेटली अभी मैं क्लास कर रहा हूँ. 9 बजे खत्म होगा. हाँ नहीं नहीं. अभी एक क्लास मेरा चल रहा है. 9 बजे खत्म करके मैं आपको आई विल कॉल बैक. और ये जो है फ्री कर रहा हूँ, ये भी हम मीन्स आदर्श अहमदाबाद की तरफ से गुजरात स्टेट एसोसिएशन प्लेटफॉर्म में कर रहा हूँ. हाँ हाँ हाँ. हाँ हाँ. ओके. थैंक यू सर. और 9 बजे मैं फोन करता हूँ आपको. हाँ जी हाँ जी हाँ जी. थैंक यू. सो हियर यू कैन सी. अभी ये जो है कि बेसिक एलिमेंट ऑफ मूव्स कर रहा हूँ. कैसल का रूल. अभी पॉन मूवमेंट कंट्रोल एंड कर रहा हूँ. जैसा कि बताया, द पॉन कैन गो 2 square एट ए टाइम फ्रॉम ओरिजिनल स्क्वायर. So it can go to b3. It can go to e5. It can go bb2. Now the bishop is attacking the pawn. So we should support. Otherwise, you lose the pawn. Suppose black will make knight here. Then he will capture. The pawn is lost. So we have to defend the threat. Bishop here. Now we can defend. Pawn supports. Or alternate, we can also bring the knight because the knight is also watching the square. In case you capture, you will take it. Take it. So in the bargain, what he has got? He has got a pawn and he's given the bishop. He has given 3 points and got only 1 point. Not a good idea. That is why when it is attacked, so we should support this. Now the game can go e3, e3. Then he can bring knight. Then he can go knight. Like that, it will go on. So the pawn moves 2 squares from the original square or one, depending. Now the pawn can also do another interesting idea en passant. Let us say the pawn goes, e4, d5. Let us say I can capture, I can push. So he will push. Now let us say I push this pawn. Now what has happened? the pawn is watching the square. If I make this move, he may capture the pawn. He may capture, it is up to him. Or he may give a support. So that when I capture, he can also recapture. When I capture, he can recapture. So he can give a support with the knight also. When I capture, he can capture back. Or alternately, let us say I decide to go to. This is a special rule. The pawn can make pass and pass. This is crossing a controlled square. This pawn is controlled square. It is going. But on the way, this being watched so he can make capture the pawn. It is not compulsory. It is not compulsory. It is option. आप मार सकते हैं या इग्नोर कर सकते हैं. So you can capture the pawn. And I can capture this way, I can capture this way, or I can capture knight into pawn. So then ultimately the impasse is also important. Let me put a diagram here. Let us say, I play c4 and you play knight here. I play c5. Okay. Now you can play. I can impasse. I can make this now. If I want, I can capture the pawn. Let us say he pushes this pawn. Now I can make impasse. If I want, impasse. Because it has crossed a controlled square. So if whether you push this, I can take this way or that way. For example, let us say you play this move. Now you play. Now I play this. You cannot do any impasse because it has go to cross square. You see the diagram. Let's say the pawn here, the pawn is here. Yeah. Now you can say, suppose I push the pawn. Now it is a choice. You can do impasse. The pawn was watching this square, so you can impasse. Or let us say you play this f4. You can do the impasse. Not necessary. You can also play. You can also play bishop here. It is not a compulsory thing. But once you leave, you cannot next move. You say I will impasse. For example, now I make this move. Now you cannot do that. The impasse option remains then and there. If you want to capture, it is immediately you have to do it. Immediately. But suppose you do not do n%, I will say I will not do n%. I will play some move like h5. And now you come. Now you say I will do n%. It will not work. Choice only immediately. When the pawn moves, you have to decide to capture or you lose the option. So now you can see the pawn goes one square or two square from the original square. And once the pawn start moving, it can go only one at a time. And it can go capture vertically, it can go diagonally and move vertically. Suppose there is a pawn here. I can't capture the pawn. Suppose this pawn, no. Suppose you push the pawn, I can capture now. Okay. Now let us say you push this pawn, I make this move. Now I can't capture the pawn, but if you play here, I can capture. So now d4, d5. Now this pawn cannot capture. Now suppose I play, now you can capture the pawn. So I hope you understand the pawn captures diagonally and when it goes to the 8th rank, it becomes a queen and there is also rule of impasse. So I hope the pawn movement you have understood and all the pieces movement you have understood and you have understood also the rule of castle. For example, let us say you play is b3, he plays e5. Now you play knight f6. You play e4. Let us say I'm just making a mock game. So g6. Now knight f3. Now I play bishop. He plays knight. I play bishop. Now black cannot castle. Why? The bishop is watching the square. So you have to block. And then I castle. You can castle. Let us alternately let us say e4 e5. Now e4. Now let us say Knight f6, e5, and knight comes here. Bishop d3. So let us knight attacks. So I play knight comes here, captures. Now these are called double pawns. The pawns cannot support each other. So these are bad pawn structure. Double pawn cannot support. Suppose the pawn was here or here, then there other pawn. Suppose like this. Let us say I come here and you take. Then let us say you come, I push. Now you come here. I cannot support. If there was a pawn here, e2 or c2, I could have supported. So this is the drawback double pawns. They cannot support each other. All right. Now let us see the movement of I will queen and mate. Elementary mates. Then next game after the second session, I will show you mate with rook, bishops, and knights. Now here the queen mate is very easy because the queen is a very powerful piece. So the queen will go and cut off all the way. Now you can see the queen is controlling this squares. So the king has only one square, only one square. It moves. Now if you play queen here, it is a stalemate. Stalemate means there is no move for the king and no legal move. Suppose there is a pawn. Imagine there is a pawn here. This is not a stalemate because pawn can move. He has a move, so it is not a stalemate. But if there is no pawn, it is not. It is a stalemate. Black to play. Black has no move. So it is a draw. When it is a stalemate, it is not winning. It is a draw. So you have to checkmate to win the game. That means at the moment he should not play the queen here. So this position he will make a king move. Now king. Now the idea the king will go all the way and give a mate. So he will just make this moves king, king. Only one move king, king, and now we give check. I give a check. You cannot capture when it is supported. King cannot capture a supported piece, so it is a checkmate. Or I can give a checkmate here also. Check and mate. Check and mate. So it can give a checkmate here. It can give a checkmate here. Okay, this is both are. Or it can give a checkmate here also. The king can give a checkmate in 5 places. See, any of the places. It can go anywhere. One, two, three, 4, 5. He can choose. He can give a check here. It's a mate because king has no square to go. It can give a check. That is also mate. It can give check. That is also mate. So that means the king can go only. I mean, with the queen can give with a mate only with the support of the king. Suppose let us say the king is here, not here. Let us say the king is here. Now this is not a checkmate. Why? The king has a room. And if it is black to play, it is a stalemate. Black has no square. So let us say white makes a move and black makes. White gives a check. He comes here. Now if you play here, it's a stalemate. Black has no move. It's a draw. That means in order to check, now I can go queen here and he will come. I will go king. He will come and this checkmate. So this is the point. I will show another diagram. Let us say the king is here, the queen is here, queen here. Now the position it is a checkmate in one. I mean, I have various places to give a check. I can give a check, I can give a check, or I can give a check, I can give a check. But these are not correct squares. For example, if I give a check here, he has a move. Suppose I give a check, white to play. I have to make it white to play. Now let us say I give a check. There is no mate. He can move. I give a check. There is no mate. Not checkmate. He will move. Or I give a check. Not a mate. I can move. Or I give a check. Not a mate. I can move. But this is a mate. So I give check and it's checkmate. Waiting because king cannot go. The queen is watching the square. I cannot go. And the king is watching the other squares. I cannot go. So it is a checkmate. But not this one. If you give, this you will take it because there is no support. So please note that there are many checks, but only correct move is this square. Other squares are bad. This is a bad square, and other squares are not dangerous. You can give check any of the squares, but not a mate. You go on anywhere yellow square check, it is not a mate, not a mate. But and if you go here, you will capture the correct move is checkmate. Okay, so I hope you have understood the elementary mates now of the queen. So in next session, second session, I will show you how to mate with the rook, how to mate with the two bishops, and bishop knight mate I will go later. So let us see some more examples of mate with the queen. Let us say the king is here, the queen is here, and the king is here. Now white to play. You can see white can give a check. Now the king will go. Now you can see the queen is watching all the squares. So queen is watching this diagonal. So king cannot go in the diagonal or to the 5. So I will bring the king. Now how many squares king can go? He cannot go to any of the squares. Control any of the squares. Because queen is watching the squares. And the king is watching this square. So and the queen is watching. So he has only 2 squares to go. Now I make further progress. The king will come. Now we give a check. The king is pushed back since all the squares are being guarded. So the king is pushed back. I will go further. So the king will go further. Now the king has only 2 squares. So he will go like this. Now I make a cut off. I go cut off. Suddenly the queen is completely cutting off the king. The king cannot go to any of the squares. No, it cannot go to any of the squares. So he will wait. Now I bring the king closer. And now we have checkmate in 5 different places, 4 different places. You can go mate here, any one, two, three. Well, like this. You can go. I can make it red, so make it more clear. Anywhere. You can give a checkmate. You can give a checkmate anywhere. So normally in the open board, the king can give mate in about 12 moves. Anywhere the king. If this open board, the white queen with the help of king can give checkmate about 10 to 12 moves. The rule is that 50 moves without a pawn move or without a capture, it is a draw. 50 moves. But normally it comes rarely because you can easily mate with the queen or the rook or with two bishops very quickly. Some more positions with the mate on the queen. Let us say the king is here and black king over here and this queen is over here. Now I want to mate. So the first easiest thing is to cut off the king. I mean the queen should go here, cut off. So I go queen. I can go anywhere here also. So cut off. So he will go move or here. Then I give a check. The queen has to. Now king comes close. He will move like this. Now he has to go down. There is no other square. because all this is guarded. All this is guarded. So only move. Give a check. And now move. The king has got only one square. And now it is checkmate. You can give mate any of the square, any of the square, any of the square. Checkmate. That means you see, in 6 moves the king got mated. Original square we find here only 6 moves. Let us say we go. I will give a position like that. Maybe here a new diagram. Let's say the king is over here and the king. So here, how many moves it will? How many moves we can give checkmate? It is only 3 moves. For example, now we go queen cut off. One. He will come. Then two. Now whether the king goes here, it is a checkmate, or whether the king goes here, it is a checkmate. Now let us say go here. I can give mate in two different places. I can give a check mate. It is a checkmate. Or I can give queen here. It is also a checkmate. Now let us say king goes here. Now I can give a checkmate. That means from beginning here, it is only 3 moves, mate in 3 moves. Okay. So let us say I want to give here the position. Let us say mm, say, now how many moves I can make it? Let us say I come here. Now how many moves you can make? How many moves you can make the king? It is only 2 moves because I cut off. I go here and completely cut off. And there is wherever he goes mate. Now checkmate. Or he goes to the corner also, it's a checkmate. That means what we have noticed, the queen can mate but not alone. Queen अकेला मात नहीं दे सकता है. You need the help of king. Okay. Let's see one more diagram. Last diagram I will discuss. Let us say the king is over here and the king is here, the queen is here. Now I want to mate quickly. How many moves I will mate? It will mate in 1 and 5, about 6, 7 moves. I first cut off. So that the king is completely restricted, the queen is cutting off the king. The king is restricted. So he will move this. Then I bring the king quickly. He will move. I bring the king quickly. He will move. King. He will move. King. He will move. King. And now next movement. Checkmate or checkmate. That means what it gathers, that king has to join. Only then you can mate. Queen alone cannot mate. Or alternately, let us say I have a rook here. Rook here. Now you don't need the king. You can give check and mate. I mean white to play. White to play. Just checkmate in one. Check. And now the king cannot go. Because the queen is cutting off the king's path and now mate. So queen mate I have discussed. Next class I will discuss how to mate with one rook and then how to mate with 2 bishops and the other elements of the game. So thank you very much friends being with me. In the coming uh, sessions, about another 12 or 13 sessions will be there. I will cover up the how to play the game and how to improve to become a tournament player. So Subhamara Namaskar on behalf of Adarsh Ahmedabad and on behalf of Gujarat State Association. I welcome you the next Sunday morning 8 o'clock. Bye.